This is the Finn Lite, a modern interpretation of a Finnish Puukko made by the Ukrainian company BPS. If you're interested in hearing my thoughts on this small but still very capable knife, keep watching. Before we get started, I do want to thank BPS for sending out the Finn Lite so that I could share it with you. Now, I'm going to do this video a little bit different than I normally do with my knife reviews. I'm not going to do all the same tasks I would do with most of the other knives that I have on my channel. Reason being is, it's a small knife. It's not really intended for things like batoning, but what this knife really excels at is carving. And that I will show you. All right, let's get started. We're going to start by going through the physical specifications for the Finn Lite before I show you the sheath. I know it's unusual. I usually do it the other way around, but there is a reason for this. Of course, I'm going to be putting all these specifications in the video description for your reference as well. So start with overall length from tip to pommel, 7 inches. Blade length, 3.2 inches. Blade thickness, 0.08 of an inch. Yes, quite thin, between 1.8 and 2 millimeters. That's thin for a knife. There's no question about that. Steel, as usual with BPS, 1066 high carbon steel, hardened to between 57 and 59 on the Rockwell scale. Weight without the sheath is 2.65 ounces, and the wood on the scales, very much like the others in the BPS lineup, this is ash. I don't know that I read this on any of the other knives, but they do mention specifically that they've treated the ash with Danish oil, and if you're not familiar, Danish oil is a more refined version of boiled linseed oil, or no, not even boiled, just true linseed oil. So that's what they've done here. It works out nice. It has little Allen screws, I guess, Allen bolts holding the scales on. I'll talk a bit about those in a minute. And it does come with a leather sheath. So I'm going to show you those in a moment, but first let me just give you a few close-ups. Like a lot of the knives from BPS, I like to just ensure that the scales are on tight. Each of these bolts did take a little eighth of a turn, not even a quarter of a turn to tighten up. Always a good idea just to prevent slippage when you start to use it. You can see that the knife is I'm going to say as true to a Puukko design as you can get, but this one, of course, is full tang construction, not stick tang as a true Puukko would be. But the blade shape, definitely very Puukko-like. It is a true 100% zero grind Scandi, but if I show it to you up close, I've been stropping it and using it, and it has given it a little polish on the edge. So it's not right down to zero. This is actually stronger. I think people who use Scandis know you've got to strop it or do something with it after you sharpen it to a zero to grind, because otherwise it can chip or roll quite easily. It does have a lanyard hole. Yes, I've put a piece of paracord in, not orange, in case I drop it. There's a specific reason why I chose the paracord I'll get to in a few moments' time. Barrel-shaped handle, flats on the sides, but pretty much barrel-shaped. Tiny bit of a guard. Now that's a bit of a departure from a true Puukko, but on a small diminutive knife like this, I think a lot of people like to see a guard on it. Is it true protection? Well, you're not going to be stabbing with this knife anyway. It's kind of a reference point so that you know where you are on the knife just by the guard here. And I really like what they've done here by rolling back these edges, because that makes it all so comfortable for placing your thumb on for carving purposes. Look how thin that tip is, right? Very, very thin. This is going to be excellent at carving, but this is the reason you won't see me batoning this knife. Not because the knife isn't strong enough, 1066 steel and a Scandi grind. It's strong enough, but it's just, I don't want to damage the tip. And that's what it's all about. And honestly, if I'm carrying this knife, I'm carrying something else with me, either a larger belt knife or hatchet or axe to go with it. So I really don't need this to use it for batoning. It does have a sharp 90-degree spine on it, and I'll demonstrate that in scraping in a moment. All right, now I'm going to bring the sheath in, and we'll talk about why I didn't do that first time around. Now, if you're looking at this sheath thinking, Mark, that doesn't look very much like the sheath I've seen other reviewers show for the BPS Finn Lite. Why is yours different? Well, very specific reason. As other reviewers have said, and I fully agree, the sheath that came with this knife is not safe. Not safe. It's not that it's not good quality, it's just not safe. It's a thin leather, it's a split leather like nubuck or something like that, kind of suede, and it's just totally flexible. I mean, you can bend it right over in your hand, And the concern is that when dropping the knife into the sheath, especially with that sharp point on it, it would just come out right through the side of the sheath. A very real concern that I had for it and a lot of other people did. I knew what the answer was, and I just couldn't feel comfortable carrying the knife without making this modification. This has been dipped in beeswax, actually totally soaked in beeswax. Dipped is probably an understatement. And it is a time-honored tradition for hardening up leather. Well, let me just give you an idea. Sounds like Kydex, right? It's as hard as Kydex, hard leather sheath. Now I feel absolutely comfortable carrying this knife in this sheath, and it has really, well, just listen to this. Sounds like Kydex. It's perfectly secured in there, and I don't know, I think I did a reasonable job. I've done it on a few sheaths before. It makes the leather look nice, really dark brown, almost black, and it really is recommended. Now, I don't mean this video to turn into a tutorial on how to go about doing a wax job on your sheaths, but I'll give you in just a few seconds time what it is that I did. Basically, I took beeswax, a quantity of it, weighed it, and melted it and very slowly over low heat, and I added 1/5 the weight of the beeswax boiled linseed oil to that. So it was a 5-to-1 wax to boiled linseed oil. Then I painted it on the outside and poured it down the inside, let it soak in, poured it back out again, and continued to paint layers and layers on it, and it soaks in until it wasn't soaking in anymore, and I could rub it and make it polish up a little bit. That's all it takes to do a wax job on your knife. If you have a deep enough container, you can submerge the whole thing and let it set until the wax soaks it up. But I was able to pour it in with the container and pour it back out again, and that's what worked for me. Now, I do have it set up as a neck carry. This is really intended for neck carry. It does a really good job of hanging around my neck. Very unobtrusive, very lightweight. This is what a neck carry knife is all about. Now, I mentioned the lanyard. There was a reason for the lanyard, and it has to do with the shortness of the handle. It's a small handle. It's a Puukko. A small Puukko, by the way, means small knife. I'm sure most of you are aware of that. Now, it just barely holds all 4 of my fingers, but the lanyard on the end gives me just a little sense of comfort that I have almost like another finger place off the end of the knife, securely holding the knife when I need it to. All right, so that's what I have to say about the leather sheath. No need to throw it away. No need to have someone else make you one unless you really want to. And just do a good beeswax job on it, and it'll be like that. And that works out really nice. Quite happy how that turned out. All right, just a few demonstrations and then we'll wrap this video up. So as I mentioned when I started the video, I wasn't going to do any batoning with this knife. Not that it can't withstand the impact. It's more about not wanting to damage the tip, and why subject a small knife like that to potential damage when you're likely going to have a larger knife or a hatchet with you anyway. And that's what I used today, a larger knife, to split out these pieces of rock maple. Questioning their quality, but that's what we'll go with because that's what you do. You go with what you have. So I mentioned also that this knife is really all about carving, and that's the type of thing you do with small knives. In fact, let me just get the knife out. That is almost as fine, as thin as my dedicated spoon carving knife. I think I could I definitely could. Actually, I'm going to do a little bit of carving towards making a spoon with it in a moment. But let's just see what I can do with feathers on this, with this knife. It's small. Now, again, it is small, right? So it is small, but it is fun to use like that. Wow. I'm almost expecting this to be harder than it is. Now, I have been using this knife, but of course, in my testing, I switch back and forth with different knives. So you pick one up and then you pick up another knife and you say, what a difference between them. And when you have a knife that's designed for carving like this is, that's when the fun begins. Just, you know, you could sit and just whittle, carve little projects, carve big projects, looking to make some little tiny little curls. Sometimes the best are when it's off, oh yeah, like that, right off of the tip. All right. I think what I wanted to do there is just show that, yes, you can make some curls on a feather stick using this little knife with ease. Now, the only thing I will say is it is small and it doesn't take, my hand just swallows it right up. But being rounded like a Puukko, it remains comfortable in your hand, regardless of the direction you hold it in. That's a hallmark of a Puukko. You can just roll it over in your hand and it'll feel comfortable any way you use it. Now, I want to show you doing a little bit of spoon curving. This is going to be really poor what I show you, but just so you get an appreciation of how this knife will do at that type of work. Okay, so I split out a piece of green maple. I have about 10 inches in length, and oh boy, I'll tell you, it's been a long while since I have made spoons, and yeah, this isn't turning out too good. This one won't see the finality or the finished work to make it a spoon, but I can show you a few of the carving techniques you would normally do with a small knife when making a spoon. So the work that I've done so far has all been done with my belt knife and not with this little knife, just to kind of get the basic shape on it. And I see already that I've split too far in on this side towards the pith, towards the center. So I didn't leave myself enough of a handle. But yeah, okay, so we'll just do a little bit with this and you'll get an idea of what you can do. So let's start with, now, obviously this isn't a spoon knife, so I'm not going to try and do that, but let's do a little bit of the rounding that I might do off in the end. Come across the top with the knife. Technique is everything, and again, this is not going to be a tutorial on carving. And there's plenty of good demonstrations of that on YouTube, but I'm sure you can see what I'm doing here. And this is where things get fun. When you want to take down a corner like that and round it off, you're pushing it off of your finger. This knife just makes easy work of that type of a job. Let's try down here on the handle of the spoon. So this, yeah, see, this is what I meant about, I really messed up the handle. But this knife is helping to correct that. That is what a nice knife in reverse grip feels like. Just because of that rounded Puukko handle shape. No discomfort in the hand at all. Just a little bit small, but again, if I'm doing heavy duty work, that's what I have a belt knife for. All right. Again, not a tutorial on how to do this or do this safely even. I got to keep remembering to bring this up so you can see what I'm doing. I commented on a video the other day where a person was carving a spoon, a friend of mine that is a knife maker over in England, Robert Evans, and he was working on a spoon as part of his video. So the only thing more relaxing than watching somebody else carve a spoon is doing it yourself. And that's absolutely true. Spoon carving is just one of those skills that, you don't have to do it for the spoon. You don't have to carve a spoon because you need a spoon. Carve a spoon because the enjoyment that comes from just turning something from wood into something that you can use and keep and look at. That's what spoon carving is all about. Yes, some people can make a living at it, and not me, obviously. That wouldn't be me. Let's take a little bit of the bark off. So this is a long ways from becoming a spoon. Actually, it won't ever become a spoon. Ooh, a little too far there. All right, I think you're getting the point. This can be a very enjoyable thing to do, carving with a knife that's designed for exactly that purpose. I think we're just about ready to wrap this video up, and I think I will show you just how sharp a spine it has. One simple demonstration, that is strike a ferro rod. All right, I think it's mentioning one more time before I go on to the demonstration about scraping with the back edge of this knife. Just as a reminder, this is a small knife. That's what Puukko means again. It is a small knife and has a very, very fine tip. Look at that. Very, very fine tip. Now, it's not so delicate that I'm afraid to put it to wood, but there's no need for me to whack on that processed wood down to turn it into firewood. Don't turn this into a survival knife. Don't turn it into a generalized bushcraft knife. Use it for its intended purpose, carving. And then you'll be not only happy, you'll be very pleased with it. That tip excels at getting in on the inside corners of a spoon and rounding them off. You can't do that with a lot of knives, not with anything that has a big broad tip on it like a lot of bushcraft knives have. You need to have something that is designed for the purpose, and this knife is. It's a little stronger and a little more capable than a dedicated carving knife, but it will really excel at carving. All right, so last thing I want to show you is using it on a ferrocerium rod, then we'll wrap the video up. So here's the thing. It has a sharp spine. BPS did a really good job. It has an edge on it that will just scrape like all day long. That's a mixed bag there. For carving, that's not a great thing. For carving, it gets on, when your thumb is on the back edge of the knife, and you do that a lot when you're doing wood carving, it can wear on your thumb over time. So the thing is, it makes a great little fire starter, right? So what am I going to do? Well, what I will likely do is leave the back half of the knife sharp like it is now, and the forward third maybe round it off, so that's where my thumb is most of the time when I'm levering and doing my carving. Show you how. Let's see make sure I can catch this on video. Yeah, this is one of the best scraping knives I think I have in my collection. You know, it's not a showstopper. It's just a nice little knife that is very functional and excels at carving. All right, let's wrap this video up. If you're interested in knowing more about this knife, I'll be putting the links to where you can take another look at it in the video description, along with all those specifications we talked about. If you have any comments or questions on the Finn Lite, please put those in the comments section below. But until next time, get out and explore and take that path less traveled, because it will make all the difference. Bye for now.